Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Brick+Work Podcast. Our guest today is Melissa Kakuk, the Director of Business Development for Parkplus. She spearheaded approvals for the first semi-automated systems in Santa Monica, Long Beach, and Santa Barbara, as well as the first three-level puzzle system in the city of Los Angeles. Hi, Melissa.
Hey, John. Good to catch up again.
Absolutely. I'm so excited about this episode because this is a topic that I think we were talking about here a little bit is of great interest to me. Once I heard about, kind of the early stages of automated parking, mechanized parking in how you can kind of put that into apartments, I was fascinated. I was like, okay, I think it's going to solve a lot of problems. I grew up in Koreatown, and now people are literally fighting to the death for parking spots, and that's not something that's normal, right? And so I just felt, look, other countries like Germany and China, and they're already doing this just based on massive urban centers, right? And based on need, why aren't we kind of doing that? But before we go into all of that stuff, you could tell I'm super excited. Why don't you, I like to start this off. Why don't you give us kind of your background and how you got into the industry, and then also what led you to Parkplus?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've been in the industry now for almost 6 years. I think you and I met maybe 3 to 4 years ago, really during the infancy and how this interest is really finally starting to gain some attention.
Yeah.
My background was not in parking. I worked for a large, well, at the time they were a startup. Now they're very large, single family REIT. And I was approached and they said, hey, have you thought about a career change? And I said, well, what are you doing? And introduced me into mechanical parking. And what we had found at that time was what this sector really needed was some education, some evangelism, somebody to really go out there and go, hey, how do I get this built? How do I get this sold? Because like you mentioned, we're seeing it in, so many different countries, Japan, China, Germany. Parkplus itself, we've been in business for 50 years, but it was really widely accepted on the East Coast, but is really bringing that to the West Coast, and then not just the West Coast, but LA, right?
Yeah.
Santa Monica.
Right.
And as you and I were catching up earlier, when you and I met, it was kind of like, okay, can you really do that? And can you do it here?
Yeah.
And yes, and we have. So that's my background. Like you said, I did spearhead first semi-automated Long Beach, Santa Monica, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, reintroducing the puzzle system to LA. And so, it's been a long 6 years, but it's been exciting. And you were onto it years ago. So it's exciting for you and I to connect now and go, hey, what's happened over the past 4 years?
Absolutely. So now let's talk, if you could kind of, for our audience, maybe 10,000 view of what automated or mechanized parking is in general, and also kind of what you guys are doing at Parkplus in regard to those systems.
So in mechanical parking, robotic parking, automated parking, a lot of terms, all interchangeable here, really is what we're doing is compacting the parking volume. So in order to build something, you have to meet a certain parking requirement. And oftentimes that's the most expensive part of the development, or it just doesn't fit. So we take that space and just smash it down and give the developer what they need, and ultimately either save them cost on the actual parking stall or give them space back that they can use for higher uses that'll yield money for them and not just cost them money.
Makes sense. And go into just the different type of systems that are out there, like the most typical ones, like what's puzzle versus, lift and some other ones out there.
Sure. So we offer the largest range of products, which is from your hydraulic stacker that most people are pretty familiar with. That's valet operated, goes up and down. You have to move the car below it to get the car above it. So most people think of those as 2 levels. We actually built all the way to 4 levels in those stacking options, and have just completed the first quad stacker in the city of Los Angeles as well.
Where is that located?
It's at a car storage facility. So people that want to park their, their Lamborghini, want to take it out on weekends or when they're visiting LA, it's a car collector. Then you have the lift slide or puzzle that you often hear it called. And what that does is, with your traditional stacker, you have to remove the cars below it to get the upper car down.
Right.
The puzzle or lift slide slides the bottom spaces over so a top space can come down. So it's just every space is independently accessible. And that is the most popular product for multifamily, which I know is your interest. And that is pretty much the bread and butter of automated parking with multifamily.
Right.
So it's fully automated. So then from there, you go to fully automated systems. To complicate things further, you have fully automated, then you have what you call rack and rail, rack on deck, you have robotics. But I think the key difference is with the fully automated system, the user is essentially parking into what looks like a little garage. They get out, and what happens beyond that point, they don't know, right?
Right.
But there's different options for different projects and what makes sense for different developments.
Right.
Then we do custom projects as well. And we do a lot of automotive dealership type, a lot of the same systems, but just applied differently.
Right. Because it's more
you want to hang a car from the ceiling, we can do that.
Okay, well, now let's talk about the specific projects that you are working on in and around LA. So I heard you're doing tours at a certain project or location, right?
Yeah, we just we just completed the first AGV system on the West Coast, and that's a robotic system. Awesome. It is omnidirectional. It can go, straight, back, diagonal. The AGV system really, out of I think we have like 23 fully automated systems. 19 of them are the AGV system that are actually built and in operation. We have a ton of rack and rail stuff in plan check, under construction. Right. And the reason for that is it really is really good for tight spaces or around cores, large cores, because it can go around obstructions.
I see.
So that one's in Valencia. We just did an open house. I think it was 2 weeks ago or maybe a week ago.
Awesome.
And so we're routinely doing tours there, or any of our quads, our triples. We have, maybe 50 installations in just the city of LA, and about 35 plus in plan check.
Wow.
So it really depends what you want to see, and then we would arrange a tour. I couldn't show you everything.
So out of those in the pipeline, is there anything that's the largest system that you guys are proposing to do?
I would say I love all my projects, whether they're small or large, whether it's a project that's having, installing 3 stackers, because honestly, the process is the same. But the process in the city is exactly the same. But I would say the most notable and most exciting project that we have in plan check is Arts District Center. Are you familiar with that one? It's in the Arts District. It is it's got a, 113 hotel room, 129 live work. It's going to have a residency program for young artists that LACMA is in charge of. And what we're doing on that project is almost 300 fully automated rack and rail type system. But what separates this from any, not just a Parkplus, like any project, it's going to be integrating autonomous valet system as well. So let's say if you're a resident there, you're going to come into let's say the top portico area. You exit your vehicle, and it's going to drive down to the basement floor.
Oh my God.
Drive into our fully automated system.
Wow. Now
that's
that sounds exciting.
Yeah, that's way ahead of its time. The developer on there, a guy named Kevin Chen, he's just a visionary.
Right.
So when you're the person going, whoa, wait, can we do that? And he's like, let's do it. That's really exciting.
That is
like,
exciting.
Let's do this. And that's with Bosch. So it is just way ahead of its time, way before COVID. He was already thinking this. So now it just kind of all came together.
Okay, so now I want to discuss what I've heard in meetings myself with developers that were proposed automated parking, and some of the things have been, and oddly enough, I think there were projects that were city-based. I think the city of Glendale at a certain point was trying to figure out what to do with their community college parking, right? Like the staff parking, the teacher parking, right?
Okay.
Should we automate a part of this? And then some of the objections were always like, but what if something went wrong and cars are stuck, and then you have this backup of staff that can't get to their cars and this and that. So, obviously that's kind of the elephant in the room that probably you get asked the most. So just want to find out, what are your options when something mechanical happens? What kind of relief or options that you guys have for developers and projects?
Sure. So it really depends on the product line. If you're doing a valet type of system and you're using stackers, those are very manual, and if power goes out, you can lower the vehicle down. So that's not an issue. With a fully automated system, that's not typically something you would see in a school setting, right? But let's just say it is, or just mechanical issues in general. Typically what we want to do is build redundancy within the system. So when you have a fully automated system, and let's say you have 2 or 3 bays of these garage portals, each one works independently from the other. So if something happens with one, the other one can still reach every vehicle within the system. The other thing is, I think it mentioned something with power. So the developer does have the option, or I say you have the option to put these on a backup generator.
Oh, I see.
And then that solves that issue. But oftentimes they don't elect to do that. But as far as having that even be a real concern or a deterrent not to do that, when you look at the data and the uptime, it's not something you would look at and go, oh yeah, I know this is too risky. I mean, we're at a 99.98% uptime, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So those are kind of things where I go, I understand where the concern is. Let me alleviate that concern, or at least show you the data, then you can make up that, make that decision.
Right. And another example I would say is maybe a couple of projects I would think about that come to mind that did this, not on the multifamily front, but so West Hollywood, their municipal city garage, I think, was with one vendor, and then a separate vendor ended up doing the Helms Bakery in Culver City, and they were 2 different ways of going about doing it, right? So I heard about maybe some issues that the West Hollywood garage had, because it was based on more where it was radio, or not the bay, but the lift that it took the car and into the stacker was radio based. And so when it was built in concrete, sometimes it wouldn't come or it wouldn't function. So they had to create some workarounds, I heard, on that project. What is the technology like? So if it is fully automated, right? And so all you have to do is just park the car in the bay and you kind of can let go. What's kind of driving that technology? Is it?
So it depends on, even on a fully automated system, there's different types of fully automated systems, and how they're all going to operate is going to be different from each other. Typically what you usually see is what we call a VRC in the bay. It's like a hydraulic type lift that goes up and down within the Bay Area. We don't have, I can't speak to what happened with West Hollywood or what issues they're having. I can say our system is, there's so many different systems. They have a different system than we have. Not to say ours is better or worse, whatever it is, but it's different. I don't know what issues that they encountered there. I would say our technology is very simple. I mean, it's mechanical, pulleys, chains, motors, except for the AGV that is robotic. And even with our fully automated systems, those are still running 99.98% uptime. We're actually doing a project for West Hollywood as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we are. We're doing, have you seen the aquatics library center that's under construction? They're redoing their, the community center, the aquatics library. And so what we've done is really good density is at the 90-degree angle of the parking, we have regular stackers, right? Then what we're doing is kind of like the flavor right now is when you build a garage, let's say you have 13, 14 feet clear to put these stackers inside the garage, right? And you put them where you normally add parking. Then you have this volume above the drive aisle that's not being used. So now we're suspending platforms over the drive aisle.
Oh, wow.
So every space of this garage is being utilized for a parking space. I think it came out to, oh man, I should have had this data. I didn't think about it. I think it came out to like 120 square feet per vehicle or something in this garage. It was something really, really impressive.
Wow. That is. And
that's going to be a valet system though. So that's like a valet operated system.
Right. Okay. So now let's get down to multifamily use, right? Because I think there's some alignment here because for Brick+Work, a lot of our reports are being requested in multifamily projects, right? Mixed use. There's even talk right now post-pandemic of figuring out, what can get redeveloped, right? And so some people are thinking of concepts and ways to redevelop office to housing. Some people are doing it with hotels to housing. And so there's going to be, depending on where the project is, an ability to do that or not. But I think a lot of that is moving forward. So ultimately, the end goal is housing, right? To create housing in different ways. And a lot of the barriers of entry is always how you pencil. And that always comes up, right? It doesn't pencil. This is a 3 cap. I build a 6 cap. How do I build in a 3 cap, right? So so tell me, go through kind of what the mindset is in helping developers with a Parkplus system. So of course it depends on how many units and the size of the envelope, but just go through maybe some use cases that you guys have in the pipeline where it is saving the developer some money and it's providing also an amenity and a service for the residents. So there's kind of 2 components there, I think.
No, you're exactly right. And especially right now is a great time for somebody, if they were going one direction, to hit pause and go, hey, how can I save money on this project? I would say anybody who's going subterranean right now should absolutely hit the brakes and go, okay, what happens if we put automated parking into this project? There's so many different ways in which a developer can recognize some value back with that system, whether it's saving on the depth of excavation, whether it is, here's a good example. There's a project that they were going to go with a puzzle system, right? So they were already saving on that volume. Then they looked at the AGV system, and by switching to the fully automated, and that's not something I always recommend, because if a puzzle works, and just the cost benefit. But what the AGV system is going to do is give them so much room back that they can put a gym. There's so many other uses they can use that space for, where it added huge value back to their project. With the mechanical parking and multifamily in today's climate, the other thing is if you can add more units, because I'm going to give you more parking. That's a value. Even though people will take the density bonuses like we're talking about on the TOCs, the market still wants the parking spaces. So what that'll add to rent. So there's so many different ways to recognize value with the parking, that what one developer is going to say for one reason is going to be a completely different reason for somebody else. The nice thing is we have such a large product line that you may think, you know what, puzzle's the way to go, and you end up with AGV. Or you may be thinking, there's people who call me and say, oh, I want to do a fully automated system.
Right.
And I'm looking at their plans and I go, okay, we can give that to you, but let's at least look at the puzzle system and their options, because it's going to get you what you need for a lesser price, and you have a lot more access points. I mean, they both have their pros and cons, but being able to look at everything and go, these are my options, and at least be able to give the developer some options.
Agreed. Yeah, I actually think more developers need to get a proposal from you guys, right? And so, and because I think a lot of it is just based on they don't know what highest and best use for parking is. And again, it's very site specific. And so, you know, how many units, where is it, what type of build, so much of that comes into play.
And when you and I first met a couple of years back, you know, a lot of this stuff was concept, right? Of going, and a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to be the first person. And is LA even approving things, or is Santa Monica going to approve these? Whatever their inhibitions were at that time, or 5 years ago, they're still thinking about years prior to that. And it's like, oh, you can't build those here, you know, or it's going to delay my project, or any of those fears or inhibitions are completely gone.
That's awesome.
LA absolutely accepts it. All the cities see what this does, not only for a project, but more even for the environment. Right. So that should alleviate anybody's concern. That definitely should not be a reason not to at least have us look at them plans.
Agreed. Yeah. All right. So there's a couple other topics I want to discuss with you, because now let's start to look at some things in the future as well. So have you guys thought, and so, you know, I think I've had a conversation before where there were some ideas being thrown around. And again, when we met, it was that kind of exciting time where it's a concept. And so what can you now, you know, use fully automated parking for, and what different type of use cases? So there was a big push, I think, when we met of, let's get some of these like aging big parking lots that are city owned. What are we going to do, right? Because no one's building them up, but there's such a big footprint that it's a waste of that space, right? What's the highest and best use? And someone had come up with an automated parking tower for that, meaning they were thinking, look, why can't we just, since it's such a big envelope, right? Why don't we just create a fully automated parking tower? And they were talking about like, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 stories of just automated parking. So I think the concept there was just, look, there's a lot of people in downtown that rely on all these open parking lots, or if they're covered, but it's not an efficient use of space, right? So if you just create one that's a tower, then you could park maybe 300 cars, 500 cars. It would have 4 or 5 bays. It was a massive concept at the time. Obviously, it didn't go anywhere, but I was curious about that because there's a lot of things that was wrong with that, but then also, you know, I've read that other countries actually have this, like Japan and Germany.
I've seen them.
You've seen them? Oh my God.
Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah, I traveled to China a couple of times, and you look at it and go, oh, that really does exist. It's not some animation or visual. Like, this is actually really happening.
Yeah.
You know? Or it has happened for a long time.
Yeah, and what they were saying was just like, look, we could get creative with this. We could have like a restaurant or a lounge or a meeting space on the roof deck. Basically, attorneys, which comprise a lot of professionals and investment and banking, can go in there, meet, whatever they got to do, and then they get their car. And I was like, but their office is still like blocks away. Oh, we'll run a shuttle bus that picks them up and takes them there. And I was like, okay, but I don't know about that part of it, but you're right. So tell me, like, what do you think of those type? How does that even like pencil in China? I'm sure it's different there, obviously.
Yeah,
right?
completely
so
different.
Use case for that tower?
So I would say for uses for automated parking, I would say in order, number one, it works the best, or we see it most, is definitely multifamily.
Yeah.
Reason for being is these systems, no matter what the system, is really not meant for high peak arrival and departure times where everybody's coming at once and leaving. Like, you're not going to put this at Dodger Stadium unless it's for the players, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Unless it's for players and, you know, the execs. Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
But certainly not for the masses.
Right.
You're not going to do it at a concert venue, nothing like that.
Right.
So multifamily, because of the flow, people have different work schedules, works the best.
Right.
After that, the flow retail would work well. The problem that you have to balance with that is going, how intuitive can you make the user experience where someone's going to feel comfortable shopping here because this is how they're parking. So in situations like that, I'll tell a developer, you may not actually need an attendant, but you need an attendant.
Yeah.
Because I say, my mom pulling up to some retail center as a parking, she'd be like, oh, no, she wouldn't know what to do. She'd be scared and she'd go somewhere else or park somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, hotel works well because it's anytime you have a valet, all the users experiencing is a drop off and a pickup of the vehicle, right? Like, I don't even think I've seen a valet actual garage in Vegas. I don't know where they take my car, you know, like, I have no idea. I just know that when I want it, I want it. And then as far as towers, can those be done? Are those being done? Yes, they can be done in LA. There's going to be a big difference between a tower you see, let's say, in China, or even in other jurisdictions that you see in the City Valet. Right. City Valet is very, very, trying to think of a nicer way to say it. No, I'm just kidding. No, I get it. It's, you know, they have a lot more regulations that you're going to see in other cities.
Yeah.
So you're going to see catwalks. You're going to see fire-rated stairs. You're going to see, you know, high-density sprinkler systems. Right. Lots of sensors to make sure there's no one in this tower, nor can they possibly get in. So yeah, it's doable. Yeah. It's just going to be different where you see it there versus somewhere else.
Agreed.
Feasibility on a cost like that, I mean, then you go, if you're talking about, you know, execs having a cocktail or whatever it is, you know, like I tell people, we'll include, let's say, the framing, the software, the mechanics of the system, but what your architect, what you want it to look like, you know, are you going to have it wrapped in glass? Is it going to be, you know,
skin, right?
Lights, everything? Yeah. How are you going to skin it? So those are all the things. How much is that, you know, property worth? You know, when you say maybe it's not so feasible, I mean, does it make more sense that you build something else and you add that parking component to it? Right?
Yeah, not just that's a
yeah, unless parking is an absolute premium where they're going to recognize a return on such an investment.
You brought up a good point, and I didn't fully ask you. So I agree with you. You're right. I think right now there's a huge opportunity in multifamily use case, and I'm so glad that we're now talking now where things are now moving forward, and there's backing from the city to actually get these projects moving forward. But so, what are the time periods or waiting time periods? And I've heard of different hacks and ways around this, meaning, so if 5 residents at the same time want their car, right? There is a kind of an app and reservation based, like, so, you know, for maybe retail, 30 minutes in, if they know they're going to leave in 30 minutes, they could via the app go, okay, I want my car to be sitting at the bay at 1 o'clock and it's 12:30. So it gives time and cue for the cars to kind of be aligned and ready to go, if that makes sense. So can that also be done on the multifamily, on the apartment, so that if 5 or 10 residents all of a sudden want to get their car at the same time, can it be done via an app and a queue?
Right. No, that's a good question. So with our fully automated systems, there is an app and you can see where your car is in the queue. So that way I know, okay, my car maybe 5-10 minutes, then I know I need to be getting down there X amount of time.
Right.
I assume you're talking about that type of interface with, let's say, a puzzle system.
Right? Exactly. Yeah.
So a couple of things. I never recommend that even when the technology is there, because with a puzzle system, we're talking, it can take you 10 seconds to maybe a minute to get your vehicle. So it's not such a substantial time that it makes sense to call it ahead of time.
Right.
Also, a puzzle system, although you have a gate that's a barrier.
Mm-hmm.
And it has sensors at the front, back of the system to measure vehicles. It can't shoot lasers across because it is an open parking system.
Right.
So for a safety factor, you really want any type of operation that's happening in a system like that to be with you.
Oh,
right?
I see.
So you don't want to be moving the system when you're in an apartment, not knowing what's happening down in the garage.
Right.
So you should have a system that would only activate within when you're in 20 feet, 30 feet, eye view of the system. So the question is, yes, it's possible, not something you would want to do. And I don't think, not today, the city of LA would even allow that to happen. They want, with the puzzle system, everything to be purposeful.
Got it. Understood.
Yeah.
Okay.
For fully automated, not a problem. It's a confined space, shoots lasers. It knows that someone's standing in there, and then it'll do nothing until it's all clear.
I actually want to go tour one of these right now, so we should set up some time.
Let's do it. You should maybe do I don't know, a podcast. No, I'm serious. We should do that.
Yeah, we could stream it right on YouTube.
Yeah, we could stream it. So. With a fully automated system, let's say the AGV system we have in Valencia, the user interface isn't any different than, let's say, a rack and rail, rack and deck. All those, the platform is the same. So the experience of how these things operate is the same.
Right. Super exciting. There's so much opportunity in multifamily. I'm so glad that we're connecting, because I think a lot of our audience and our users, I want them to have that kind of proposal and those options on their projects. I think more projects will pencil, and more projects will be better for the residents in that neighborhood.
Yes, more stuff will be built.
Agreed. Slim lots. I mean, years back we were talking about this, but I think it's wide open now. Given the pandemic, there's now, where everything's being reimagined, repurposed, rethought of, and so this is where technology like this needs to be applied in that solution. So
absolutely. What I'll do is I'm going to send you, because like I said, your smaller lots really caught my attention, because if I show you kind of like a typical layout that we do over and over again, you'll look and they go, oh, this is really, and then you're going to be going up, buying up all the 50 by 125 lots all day long, because you'll see them differently. You'll see them differently than the next guy. Yeah,
I'm excited. So, well, I just want to end things with kind of, it's open-ended. So you could talk about something, another specific project, or something you guys are releasing, or maybe another feature or another kind of information that you'd like to relay to our audience. Like I said, most of them are commercial agents and brokers, and also developers as well.
Yeah, I think, we could talk about systems all day long, and I think without seeing pictures and videos, it's kind of hard to conceptualize how these things move. Agreed. So I think a really good takeaway from your audience would be that you had mentioned at Parkplus is what we offer as just a service, and there's no cost to this, is we will take somebody's plans and gather the information that we need to do, give you a feasibility, a first pass back, and say, this is how we would envision this. This is what we can give back to you. And not just that, but we take control of the city approval process. So it's not something that they're going to have to do. We will work in conjunction with their architect, but know that when they use an automated system, and in particularly Parkplus, we handle that whole permitting process, because there's a lot to know when it comes to that. And it's not meant to be scary or deterrent. It's meant to go, we don't want problems to come down later because we were not involved in the beginning, because if you're going to use automated parking, it does impact the rest of the project. Right. It changes, the building. And again, I said, not in a deterrent way, just things you have to think about ahead of time. So just for them to know, going, hey, you know what, there is this project I'm having an issue with, or it's costing me, just send it to me and let me take a look at it.
Yeah, and I'm so excited to take I think also you're right. From when we first met till now, the game changer has been now you could tour sites. And I think we spoke about that too. It's always like do you understand if there was at least one or a few right now that I could send developers to, it would change their mind, it would open their mind to.
Right. And you know what just popped in my head, and I have to tell you this because you said you're really interested in towers.
Yeah.
We actually built the tallest fully automated tower, and it is amazing. I've gone to see it. It's in Florida, South Florida. It is 26 levels of parking.
Oh my God, that's a tower.
26. I'm going to send you a video.
Yeah.
I went and toured this and I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, it's such an engineering feat. It is the coolest system we have installed until, you know, ADC is going. But that system's amazing. So to your answer, can they be built? Are they being built? Yeah, we have one in full operation in South Florida.
Oh yeah, please.
So I got to send that to you.
Yeah, and I'm going to put that in any capacity with our users on our YouTube and everywhere else, because I really,
for sure.
And again, yeah, I think there's definitely synergy here. Just to announce, you know, we really want to work with you guys moving forward, in so that we can also have our developers or our brokers, and even in the early stages, right? A lot of these development decisions to purchase, I realize, happen right in the beginning, right?
Right.
And so a lot of these projects don't end up happening because ultimately, for one reason or another, it did not pencil in their eyes. So like the initial due diligence is the time where I think these Parkplus options should be presented, right, to developers, so that they then could look at a slim lot or look at something and go, okay, well, now I get it. With this system, I think we could make this project work. And then they start the process of getting it entitled and moving forward.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited to be working with you on that.
Yeah, it's great to reconnect. Thanks for inviting me on here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for agreeing with such short notice.
No problem at all.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Melissa. Appreciate
it. Thanks, John. Bye-bye.
Bye.